Alright guys, TacticalRab here, and today hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The 16 teams going to the Challengers World Championship have now been officially confirmed. Doug Censor and the Boston Academy are not among them, but he does mention for the first time really so far, how about the possibility of subbing him into the starting Boston team? He says that if they did so, he would absolutely beat OpTic, no doubt about it, and he reckons that Ghosty knows that's true as well. Will the coaches listen though? For everyone to tune into your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Just quickly on this one actually before we get to the Doug story, because there's plenty of that again, just an update on the Halo event that concluded last night. The OpTic guys were there in attendance to watch OpTic lose again to Space Station Gaming. This is quite an interesting story actually, because I believe even before the tourney, Space Station's Twitter account was tweeting a bit of banter at OpTic, as I think they were complaining about the seeding and all this stuff, and Formal was meant to be taking notes in the replies. Seemed to not actually matter too much when they played them in the end. And I wasn't watching this live, but apparently they had a bit of a full collapse here, which is pretty rare, I think, for OpTic's Halo team in general. They've been pretty clutch, to be honest, and with Formal on the team, you'd think they would be. But yeah, this occasion, not the case. They bow out third of this event, and it's FaZe that win it. I think they were down 2-0 to a pretty surprising team earlier on in the tourney, but they reverse swept that one, and they won the tourney. Big comeback for them. The bracket, this was the losers bracket here, so OpTic had to make a losers run through quadrants. Native Red lost to Space Station in the elimination finals, and then it was FaZe that won the tourney for the first time, I believe, for this FaZe team in some time, but I think they came in and looking very solid. So those were your final results there for DreamHack Dallas. I think there's the Arlington event coming up soon as well in Halo, so that scene's all kicking off at the moment. Quickly on Doug as well, because his season is over. Now, okay, it's over from what he believes could be the case. However, he does suggest the possibility of maybe at the World Championship they might need him. We'll get into that more in a second. But if this is the case, he is indeed going to go for the Guinness World Record for pull-ups in 24 hours. Now, I think a few years ago, David Goggins broke this, and it was, what, like 4,000 or so. Nowadays, it's like 8,000-9,000, which is such an insane feat to achieve. And I don't know what these guys, how protection they're going to have to put on their hands, because it's going to be rough. But Doug is good at pull-ups. I mean, we've seen it on stream plenty of times. And he's going to be raising money for charity doing this, so really awesome to hear from Doug. And he's going to be doing pull-ups on the minute, every minute, for hours on stream in preparation for this attempt. So yeah, I think it's going to take Doug maybe a month and a bit of training. Who knows what date he's going to target. But I mean, man, I'm looking forward to this, and obviously wishing Doug the best in those endeavors. Let's talk then about the Challengers World Championship, because Doug Censor Martin's Boston Academy didn't qualify to go. They went down last night to Gunless's team, of course. Gunless's team also didn't qualify, and it's kind of wild to me what happened in the Boston camp, because all of the previous Boston members were just knocking each other out of the Challengers World Championship, which feels a little bit strange, or it gives Boston a better chance to make it in some respect. But I mean, yeah, not ideal in a way. This was also the team from Europe that qualified, Niall and co, with a pretty interesting roster mix here, so congrats to these guys for making it. And then in the North American side, we had this Game 5 result where Vivid, Mock, Major Maniac, and Rupert Skywalker, they take down the team that beat Center's team, right? Nero, I believe, dropped a donut here Game 5 and dipped out of the lobby before you could actually see it on the scoreboard. But yeah, it's interesting how volatile this team was, because Gunless and co were looking really good, then they weren't. I think in some respects it's kind of like the Pristini phenomenon, where like sometimes Pristini as a player and his teams are looking incredibly good, but they're very inconsistent, right? Pristini's probably the most inconsistent player like we've ever seen in COD in some respects, so maybe that was expected, because going from 16 to 1, you've got to be super consistent to make it all the way. Major Maniac's team, they make it to the finals, and they will play the team that won this series between Craze and co. Craze was really popping off, actually. He had some particularly good moments, but Jimbo goes 16-4 Game 5. Funny with Jimbo, right? Because he was Jimbo, and then he thought, you know what, to get rid of the Paris Jimbo kind of a name, I'll go to Lao or whatever he was doing at the time. And now I think he's back to Jimbo again, because fundamentally people don't forget, right? But Jimbo was better than he got credit for on Paris Legion last year. He was playing out from Canada. It wasn't ideal from an internet perspective. He was getting slammed online, but was actually pretty good on LAN, and was an especially good S&D SD player. So maybe Jimbo, on evidence like this, is trying to get himself back into the league and would honestly be doing a good case to make that happen, because goes 16-4 game 5 to reverse sweep Big Head, Craze & Co. to make it to the finals. And they then went on to win said finals up against Major Maniac's team and the champions of the region, Geo, Gravity, Jimbo, and Classic. So, I mean, Classic is just so inevitable in some respects here. Feel bad for Major Maniac and Co. because they played well, but yeah, they're not going to make it to the Challengers World Championship. I do think there's a good argument to say there should be more teams at the Challengers Champs. Yes, 16, 4 groups of 4. You know, if you're going to go up from 16, you probably got to get to 32, and then you've got to think from the league perspective, like they've got to pay 32 teams to fly out to around the globe for a Challengers event, house them, accommodate them, all this type of stuff. You can understand why 16, I think even this year's format is slightly better than last year's format. It's still not great. Ideally, there'd be loads of teams there. And, you know, but I guess if the CDL is in part going to fund that for the World Championship, then I can understand why they're going down this route. I just wish there were a few more teams there, because I think there's a lot of great players. I mean, the fact that Doug is playing Gunless and Co., and then if they won that, would have to play, you know, the likes of Classic, the likes of Major Maniac to actually qualify for the Challengers Champs. Feels a little bit strange, to be honest. But anyway, Champs locked in for Orbit is their team name, and that actually leaves, these are the winners from around the world here. So these are the winners from the APAC region, right? Zephyr and Co. And then Latin America was Team Smog. They'll all be there at Champs in these groups. So I'll keep you guys updated on this over the coming days. But yeah, those are the 16 teams now locked in. 4 groups of 4. I'm guessing it's going to be 4 groups of 4. Some sort of GSL style or single round robin type format, where 2 teams of the 4 get through. Then there's an 8-team bracket, and it goes from there, as it will be in the professional side as well, but of course no groups on that side of things. Do want to mention though what Doug has to say, because he makes the point about the fact that he's got to play Gunless to get through. You know, obviously Pierce Hillman, one of the greatest players to never win a world championship, to be honest, in terms of pure peak potential, hasn't been so good after he was dropped from Los Angeles Guerrillas and Spark came in, they won, he had that operation, and obviously didn't really affect his career in the way that he would have liked it to, but still a very solid player on his day. And, you know, it doesn't really feel like he should be a level of player that you've got to beat comprehensively and then go on to do even more than that in order to make it to the Challengers World Championship. But anyway, Doug isn't happy with that. Goes on to say, though, that from a competitive perspective at the actual World Championship, he could be a viable asset there. I don't think he's really mentioned this on stream so far until his Challengers Championship hopes are now over and dashed, that, you know what if the Boston starting team put him in? He's apparently talked to Ghosty, his former, not exactly protege, right, but he was with Ghosty last year. Now Ghosty's on the OpTic team, and he says that Ghosty is scared of him effectively and knows full well that if Doug was in the starting Boston team, that OpTic would have a particularly hard time.
Apply for champs back in the day, Tom.
It was real easy.
It shouldn't be this hard. Why am I playing Pierce Hillman for top 4 in an LCQ and only the winner qualifies? Why am I playing Pierce Gunless Hillman in an online thing to qualify to Challenger Champs? How does that make sense? That's crazy. I just played a world champion, a 4-time MVP, and a CDL perennial starter, and then Dylan Rex is a top challenger player in a best of 5 online, and then I had to win 3 more after that to make champs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, that's crazy.
I just had to get it off my chest. I'm good now. I'm good.
You're good.
That's actually insane. Tom, for us to be around for as long as we have, if we don't... Yeah, like, dude, if we don't play this game at all, and then, like, something happens to a player at champs, and then we just go without any practice over these next 2 weeks, like... I'm not saying we're going in for champs, but, like, we should stay game ready. We're the best, I feel. Like, we definitely could win in pro level. I know if I'm subbed in on the main team, I could shit on Dan Ghosty and OpTic Gaming. And I told him that last night on FaceTime, and he knows it too. But, like, I don't care. Like, I'm on the bench. I'm on the second team. I support the main team, but we should stay ready because we are disgusting. We are really, really good. And it would be stupid if we stop playing this game going into champs. It'll be dumb. You never know what's going to happen.
I have them on the door. They're playing for me P2, man.
Watch short.
Ivory paper.
Okay, hurry up.
Right now, front P2.
Yeah, front P2.
One more.
Front P2, I got him, yeah. I'm pushing him.
I think they're spawning.
Front P2, one shot, he's in the van, I don't want to blow it.
Okay, on the deep left one.
One shot.
Yeah, they're spawning orange. Or PD.
We just got 52
One
seconds.
bathroom,
50.
bathroom.
He's in the back of me, in the back of me, in the back of me. I saw him in the back here, he's in the back here.
Yeah, am I?
He's gonna try to
Fuck, I just gave it up. Yo, gas man and 2 front.
Let's gas
Got
man,
big,
let's
got
front,
big.
I gotcha.
Sweet, but...
Nah,
Oh, they got.
He's front side down, front side down.
So obviously we know that OpTic play Boston round 1. It's arguably the best first round game they could have got right now. Looking at the upper side of the bracket, that is definitely the scarier side because of all the teams that are in attendance at this tournament, I would say 5 can win. And if I had to choose a 6th team, I would probably take Surge, which is maybe a bit of a hot take over something like the Minnesota Rokkr. But I think Minnesota Rokkr, when they got to top 3 or whatever it was last tournament, they got that far and then they just got bodied by the good teams. Like, that doesn't show me enough evidence that when if they were to get to like top 4, top 3 at this tourney, I think they would just get slammed by the top teams. Whereas Surge, they actually do have on their day, if they catch fire, we've seen it before, the ability to win tourneys, the ability to beat FaZe, stuff like this. I don't think they're going to do it, but if there was a team, I think Surge have a higher percentage chance to win this tournament than Rokkr do and that Boston do. So that makes it sound like to me that the lower side of the bracket is definitely far easier than the upper side, and Boston, I would say, are the most likely team here to go out top 8 as it stands with the way they're playing, and also the fact that, I mean, I shared that clip from Snoopy, right? That's him running around absolutely frying kids, but the guy's comms aren't great, let's be honest, and yes, they can improve over time, but you really think that Snoopy coming in, he's almost like whispering his comms, but I don't know what's going to be going on there in those Boston comms. You've got Snoopy whispering, you've got Beans just screaming dead every time he gets a 2B shooting people in the back. I mean, it doesn't sound to me like that's a recipe for success, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what they're thinking over there, to be honest, putting Snoopy in as they have done, because there's just no leadership, there's no experience. And yes, Doug, just because he's old relative to most pro players today doesn't mean he's necessarily a good endgame leader, but he's at least got some experience and some championship winning pedigree. So this is why I actually, you know, I still believe that they have a better chance. I'm not saying they'd be good with Doug. I'm not trying to make the claim that they're going to all of a sudden be a championship contender if they put Doug in, but I still think they've got a better chance. And you know Doug's coming with the absolute fire if that was to be the case. And he's basically saying there in that clip, he's saying to Dent, he's saying to Zed, the coaches of Boston, like, look, put me in. Ghosty's scared of me. I could definitely beat OpTic if this was the case. That would guarantee themselves top 6 of the tournament. You know, OpTic are vulnerable right now. There's an option there. And Snoopy coming in with no, like, support in that sense, just bringing him in with the hope that he's going to slay hard doesn't really seem to be a viable option to me. So, yeah, I still don't really get it. This whole idea from Boston that they're going to drop Vivid, bring in Snoopy, and that's going to fix all their problems. Like, it's clearly not. Is Doug going to fix all their problems? No. Does he give them a better chance? I would say probably yes. So, I don't know. Intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. I just thought it was funny that Doug is finally making it clear to Boston, because most of the year when people said, oh, Doug, you know, they should put you in, and he's like, no, you know, I like my team as it is. I respect my organization. But now he's out of Challenger Champs. He's like, look, guys, it's time to get Doug Censor in there. And even if he's not in for this Champs, he reckons he's going to be there for next Champs. He's made that point very clear. Boston obviously stand by and like him, but I don't know if the relationship with the coaching staff is quite at a point where they would actually do this. It seems unlikely, but Doug's trying to manifest it as much as I am, to be honest, which is always nice to see. So intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Just a couple of things here, because Classic, of course, going to the World Championship, that means he can try and get the 2-peat, win it back-to-back as he did last year. Mohawk, though, is on for 3 in a row. He's there again. He's won the last 2 in a row. And he even took a break briefly this year, so it'd be quite the story from him if he can go for the back-to-back-to-back Challengers World Championship victories. There was also this from Shotzzy, a player on that team that just fell short there. And as iLLeY says, I see the progress, bro, keep it up. So interesting to see that iLLeY's definitely tuning into what's happening in challenges, and is, to the best of our understanding, eyeing up a return sooner rather than later. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.